All right, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. I want you to imagine for a second that you're sitting right across from me in my office. We're going to close the door, block out all the noise from the outside world, and just have a completely honest, unfiltered conversation. Because as a financial advisor, there's this fascinating phenomenon I see all the time, and we really need to talk about it. We're going to look at what actually happens, both in your mind and in your portfolio, when you finally hit a massive financial milestone. I mean, you've scraped, you've saved, you've sacrificed, and you finally reach a number like $300,000. It sounds absolutely amazing, right? But the reality of that moment, well, it's often profoundly different than what we've all been sold. So picture this. You open your investment account on, say, a random Tuesday, and bam, there it is. $300,000 staring right back at you. Make no mistake, that is serious, real money. Honestly, it's way more than most people manage to invest in their entire lifetime. But here's the catch. Instead of this overwhelming excitement or, a wave of relief, you actually feel a very specific kind of frustration. Why? Because you still have to set your alarm clock for tomorrow morning. You still have to do the commute. Deal with stressful deadlines, pay your bills, handle all your normal responsibilities. Your day-to-day life literally hasn't changed at all. And it's completely normal to feel a bit let down here. In fact, it leads a lot of my clients to this very quiet, almost anxious thought. Wait, if $300,000 doesn't change everything, what actually will? I actually like to call this the false summit of wealth building. You know when you're climbing a mountain and you see this peak up ahead that totally looks like the top, but then you get up there totally out of breath only to realize, oh, wow, there is so much further to go? That's a false summit. In the financial world, $300,000 is absolutely not the finish line. It's not the end of the journey by a long shot. In fact, it's actually the true starting line for your wealth engine. And to really understand why this feels so incredibly anticlimactic, we kind of have to look back at what it actually took to get you here in the first place. Because let's be real, the early years of investing are just a grueling grind. Let's break it down. Years 1 to 5, getting from zero to your first $50,000? That is brutal. It's painfully slow. Every single contribution feels tiny, and you look back after an entire year of investing and it barely moved the needle. Then, years 6 to 8, pushing to $100,000. Okay, it improves slightly, but you are absolutely still doing all the heavy lifting. By years 9 to 12, crossing the $200,000 mark, the market finally begins to help you out a little bit. But I want to completely validate your exhaustion right now. Getting through this entire timeline, that was powered entirely by your own sweat, your unyielding discipline, and your personal sacrifices. You were the one saying no to lifestyle creep while literally everyone else around you was saying yes. And then, after a decade or more of that incredible, relentless discipline, you cross it, the $300,000 mark, and nothing happens. Zero fireworks. Nobody throws you a parade. There's no sudden magical sense of financial freedom washing over you. It just looks like another set of digits glowing on a screen. But, and this is crucial, there is a massive, beautiful, dramatic irony happening right in this exact moment. Because secretly, just underneath the surface of this incredibly anticlimactic number, the rules of the entire game are fundamentally transformative. So let's move into section 1, when the math shifts gears. For the very first time in your financial life, the math quietly flips in your favor. You see, the journey from zero to $300,000 is fundamentally different from the journey of $300,000 to $1 million. And it all comes down to the speed of the money. Let's look at your effort first. Let's say you earn a really great salary of $90,000 a year, and you have the extreme discipline to save 20% of it. That means you are physically working day in and day out to put $18,000 a year into your investments. Incredible discipline for sure. But now, look at the money's effort. You have a $300,000 portfolio. At a fairly normal historical 8% annual return, your portfolio just produced roughly $24,000 in a single year. Think about that for a second. Without you working a single extra hour, your money just generated more growth than your own annual savings. It's wild. Your money is officially outworking your human effort. But of course, there's a massive psychological catch here. Even though the engine is finally running on its own, this early compounding phase is, well, it's dangerously gradual. Let's trace it. Year 1 gets you to $324,000. Nice, but, not exactly life-changing. Year 3, you hit around $380,000. Year 5 pushes you to $450,000. Now, as an advisor, I see clients get deeply frustrated right around here. Why? Because the next few years after crossing the threshold feel dangerously boring. You expected this explosive surge, but compounding starts off so quietly. And this boring gradual stretch is exactly where highly intelligent people lose their patience and completely sabotage their own wealth. Which brings us to section 2, the leverage flip. If you're going to survive this boring phase, you have to mentally adapt. You really need to realize that the biggest, most impactful decisions in your financial life have permanently shifted. Up until this point, your primary strategy was what we call career leverage. You focused on your income, getting promotions, fighting for raises, and that was vital. But earning more active income requires more of your time, more stress, and way more human effort. Passing 300K, though, unlocks capital leverage. Going back to that math we just talked about, earning an 8% return on your portfolio generates a $24,000 raise that you didn't even have to step into your boss's office to negotiate. But here's the thing. Most people never fully adjust their thinking here. They keep obsessing entirely over their salary while missing the fact that their portfolio is quietly becoming the single most powerful financial tool they possess. Alright, let's look at section 3, the traps, specifically panic and creep. The absolute most crucial point right now is survival. Reaching this false summit creates some really powerful illusions, and you have to survive 2 massive psychological traps that absolutely destroy investors right at this critical juncture. First up is the panic trap. Imagine you spend a whole decade building up to $300,000, and then a perfectly normal market correction happens. Let's say the market drops by 25%. Suddenly, your retained value is sitting at $225,000, which means $75,000 of your progress has been completely erased. Wow. This is no longer theoretical, right? This is literal emotional terror. You are watching years of your blood, sweat, and tears seemingly just vanish in a few short months. And the overwhelming, very human temptation in that moment is to sell everything, retreat to the safety of cash, and just wait for things to calm down. But guys, this is a fatal error. You absolutely must remember this golden rule. Momentum is greater than growth. I have to warn you right now, selling during a correction doesn't just lock in a temporary monetary loss. It actually shatters the continuous chain of compounding. By the time your emotions recover enough for you to feel safe investing again, the market is usually already bounced back. So you missed the recovery, you locked yourself in at $225,000, and you completely reset your timeline. Compounding is a chain, and when you break it, you have to start that heavy engine all over again. Now, if the panic trap doesn't get you, the second trap absolutely will. And that is lifestyle creep. This is the psychological illusion that reaching a financial milestone somehow means you finally deserve to dramatically upgrade your spending. I mean, think about it. You've been the disciplined one. You drove the practical, boring car. You watched all your friends take lavish vacations on Instagram. And now the account says $300,000 and you feel like you can finally take a breath. That pent-up desire for the bigger house, the better car, or expensive habits just bursts out. You start telling yourself, well, technically I can afford it. So let's put a real number on that feeling. $280,000. I just want to pause for a heavy beat right here. Really take that number in. This staggering figure is the true invisible cost of pulling out just $60,000 from your portfolio for a luxury upgrade today. Let me explain exactly how that math works. Every single dollar you remove from your wealth engine at the 300K mark stops multiplying forever. That $40,000 car you want to buy today? Well, at an 8% return over 20 years, that is roughly $185,000 in lost future wealth. That $60,000 purchase we just mentioned, it quietly erases $280,000 from your future retirement. The real cost of a purchase at this stage isn't the sticker price at the dealership, not at all. The true cost is the massive future momentum you just killed, right as it was finally starting to accelerate. And finally, Section 4. Protecting the engine. So the big question is, how do we successfully navigate this phase? Well, my wealthiest clients realize a core truth. $300,000 isn't the reward, it's the engine. And your only job now is protecting that engine. The bizarre, incredibly effective secret of self-made millionaires is remarkably simple. Stay boring. Do not interrupt the chain. When the money finally starts working for them, they don't suddenly upgrade their lifestyle. They don't dramatically increase their spending. Instead, they vigorously protect the system they just spent a decade building. They recognize that the machine is finally turned on, and the absolute smartest, most profitable move they can possibly make is to simply get out of its way and let it run. It all comes down to this one philosophy. Compounding doesn't reward excitement. It rewards patience. Years from now, when your portfolio has grown into several $1 million, you're going to realize something really profound. True wealth wasn't built during those brutal early years when you worked the absolute hardest. It was built during the years when compounding was allowed to run silently in the background, uninterrupted, year after year after year. Which leaves us with a final, kind of provocative question to think about. Are you willing to sacrifice today's excitement for tomorrow's unstoppable momentum? Because honestly, the hardest part of the journey isn't reaching $300,000, it's protecting it. It's resisting that intense, constant urge to tinker, to panic, or to upgrade. If you can just leave your wealth alone to grow, you'll stop feeling the grind of those early years and you will finally experience the incredible power of unstoppable momentum. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. I really hope this reshapes how you look at your very next financial milestone. Keep that engine protected and I'll see you in the next one.